Delta Lake. If you missed any of the previous AMA's office hours, no sweat. There are recordings available on our LinkedIn and YouTube channels. So just a quick reminder as well, this is an official webinar of Delta Lake, and therefore it is subject to a code of conduct. Please do not do or post anything to the Q&A or ask questions that would be in violation of that code. I will paste the link for code of conduct. This was a thing I had to mention, so I did mention that. So would love to know, without further ado, where you are dialing in from. We have a panel from across the world, California, France. So yeah, cool. So in the meantime, while you are joining our channels, we will go ahead and kick off the introductions of our panelists. So I will start with the person on my right, Florian. Why don't you give a quick intro?
Thank you, Vini. Hello, everyone. So I'm Florian. I work at Back Market, where we sell refurbished devices. It's a marketplace. And I'm contributor to Delta OSS, a Rust native library to have a low access on the Delta tables. And we provide as well Python bindings, Ruby bindings.
Awesome. Next is Nick.
Hi, my name is Nick Karpov. I'm a developer advocate here at Databricks. I've been working on the Delta project for several years in capacity as a field engineer, and I recently joined the dev advocacy team. So excited to be here and talk about Delta.
Awesome, thank you, Nick. Allison?
Hi, I'm Allison, and I'm a software engineer here at Databricks, and I work on the Delta Lake project. And this includes things like managing the 2.1 release. So happy to talk about things related to that. And I also I've worked a little bit on the connectors repo and the Delta standalone project.
Pretty cool. Last one we have Ryan.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ryan, and a software engineer at Databricks. I have been working on Delta Lake project since the beginning, and happy to be here to share news or answer questions for Delta Lake. Yep.
That's awesome. We have exciting range of contributors here. And myself, I'm Vini Jaiswal, developer advocate at Databricks. Have been associated with Delta Lake project for several years now. So happy to answer your questions. Please post your questions here. We recently released three major announcements to our project. So we will cover what is available in Delta Lake 2.1 with Spark 3.3. We have release on the Python Rust binding, so you can ask questions around that. We also applied a fix that was, that was released for fixing a bug for a recent release. So that's how quickly we are releasing the features. So pretty exciting. So what are some of the things which were fixed in Delta Python Rust bindings? Florian, would you able to take that question?
Yeah, thank you. So basically, we released a breaking change with the latest version of the Python bindings. It was the 6.0. And we changed the way we read the storage. So we allow more configuration options for the different cloud providers that we have. And this breaking change using a new crate of the Rust, it was used object storage crate, introduced a bit some issues that we quickly fixed inside the new version. So the new version fixed all the issues that we received right after. And it's also a breaking change because we removed the support of the Python version 3.6. So we would like to evolve with the rest of the Python ecosystem. And also to measure improvement about the way that we better read and parse statistics of the Delta tables using the library, and we provide also a better way of support the schema, especially for the dates and the decimal inside it.
That's awesome. So for those who don't know what Delta Rust bindings are, can anybody on the panel give a quick overview of what that project is?
Yeah, I can give a quick introduction, but to be honest, I haven't used this by myself. So basically, this is just like a kind of like we use Rust to write a like a reader and writer based on the Delta protocol, and we already have like a Delta protocol which defines how to read and write the Delta transaction log, and then Delta Rust is kind of just building from scratch using Rust itself. And then, so so you don't need, for example, you don't need a Spark or like a JVM to run. And then you can just use like Rust, or you can also like embed this into like a Python, which can quickly run part Delta transaction log and read and write a Delta table.
Yep. That's what it is. And also, like, if you have any projects you are working on and you would like to build a connector with Delta Lake, please, we welcome contributions from everyone. And because we released some standalone reader and writer back in December, you are able to, Delta Lake opens the whole new room for connecting with other ecosystem projects. So definitely check out our GitHub repo and please put your PR there. We have a very good, reviewing schedule, so we will be happy to connect with you. There is question around why, if Delta Lake works with EMR. So I'm pretty sure it does, and you can actually configure it, on EMR. If you need the bindings, if you need the binaries, it is available on our GitHub repo. Does anybody would like to add anything?
So basically, EMR is just they ship like Apache Spark on EMR, and as long as you are using Spark, it's pretty easy to like use Delta Lake. We have like a quick start the document to tell you how to start like to use Delta Lake on like a Spark.
Exactly. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, if there's
yeah, go ahead, Ali.
feedback about like setting that up and like whether our documentation is helpful or not, I think we're all happy to hear it and see if we can improve that experience.
Exactly. And we are working on more tutorials for those quick starts. So, we also improve our documentation. So like Ali mentioned, please definitely let us know if we are lacking anywhere in the documentation, and our team will be happy to update it. Awesome. There is another question on anything related to governance, data governance we have added in Delta Lake, or data quality, something like Great Expectation. You can add something, but please feel free to, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so basically Delta Lake support like, for example, check constraint. You can define the requirement for a column is pretty like a SQL standard. You can just add a constraint on a column and then just set whatever like expectation you would like to do with this data. And then with this check constraint, we will like verify the data quality first before writing to a Delta table. If like your input data breaks this constraint, we will fail your query to make sure all the data in the table are like following your like a quality requirement.
Yep, exactly. And also, like, if you have any PII data or like some kind of compliance that should be enforced, or you need to have separation of tables for your users, you can also like apply salt key or any kind of like pseudonymization for your tables. And we also recommend bronze, silver, gold level architecture, so you don't have to give access to all the users in your organization for all tables. You can basically apply ACLs at the ACLs, meaning access level controls at table level for your users, and govern your data in that regards as well. So there are different ways and approaches you can take. Anybody else would like to add any other recommendation?
You can also, this is a little bit more custom, but you could perhaps leverage the user commit data as well on a per commit basis to write additional metadata for a given committer, and then leverage that as kind of the basis of like additional information to improve governance. So you can use that in your readers really to do a check, allow things, stuff like that. It would require more work than just using the metadata, but the metadata could be the basis of that.
And Nick, has this solution been used by any specific use cases? Would you like to? Is it more for GDPR?
Well, it's just like the technical ability to add metadata as part of a commit is just like kind of foundational. So as an example, within Databricks specifically, there's metadata regarding like which user actually committed this data, from what cluster, things like that. So in the open source Delta project, you could achieve similar things using the user commit data.
And also I think I read it somewhere in our release notes, we recently added some more operational metrics to our Delta Lake project. Is that right?
I think it's less that we added new operation metrics, but more that we exposed them directly after performing like the operation. So previously you'd have to like go describe history and retrieve the metrics for previous versions and previous commits, but we just added it in the SQL commands now so that you get those operation metrics like directly back from your command.
Yeah. And I think this is a very powerful feature, having that exposure to operation metrics. I have seen a lot of use cases in the field where it could be used for, like backtracking your data, as well as a lot of like different use cases. So having that functionality is pretty helpful. Awesome. There's another question on, do you need to reshuffle before merging in Delta Lake? Or is it enabled by default?
You need to reshuffle before merging.
Yes.
I think, so the merge consists of two joins, which will perform a shuffle. And there is a repartition if needed flag that you can add such that your files do get shuffled and repartitioned into larger files per partition. But if the question is, do you need to repartition before you run merge, then probably not.
Yeah, I think there is a setting or parameter where you can enable auto merge. Like merge.repartition equals to true something. So I think we have a documentation around that.
Yeah, I think now like by default, like, this should be enabled. Basically, we will do like a repartition before merge to reduce the file created by the merge command by default.
If you repartition things on your own beforehand, particularly I guess the source side, that could have an impact. But on the writer side, like you don't really have control, except for the flag that you can disable because it's enabled by default.
Awesome. There's another question from Amit. He is asking, does Delta Lake also support data mesh architecture?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes.
Yeah, I think it's just like a...
As a file storage framework, I think it's unopinionated in which context it's used, and it could certainly be leveraged in a mesh architecture, data mesh architecture. But I don't know the specifics. So.
Exactly. Okay.
And we can.
I think that was helpful. Yeah, go ahead, Florian.
Yeah, we can think about having Databricks a way of decentralizing the data sets produced. So in a way, it's a more decentralized way to fetch everything and make it available for every use case that we can find. So in a way, yes.
Awesome. So there are some, I would definitely like to dive into some of the 2.1 features. So it would be helpful to know what have been, why did we decide to release some of the features in 2.1? Like, what were the most asked features? If, our panelists can like take a quick answer on that. Yeah.
Well, I think probably the biggest thing was really the upgrade for Spark 3.3. I think that this has been something that we've been meaning to do for a while and was kind of pushed back a little bit because of 2.0. And I think that's something that people have requested a lot. So was like the major thing that was kind of pushing the 2.1 release. But I also think that a lot of the other like main improvements that came along with that had to do a lot with like SQL syntax. I know, for example, like we now support time travel in SQL. And that was something that I think has been requested a lot for like over a year now. And so that was something that we were finally able to do in 2.1, since we finally got the changes that we needed into Spark 3.3. So yeah, like a lot of different changes for the SQL side. I think that other than that, there's been a lot of other improvements as well as just bug fixes and things like that, a lot of which were contributed by community members. So that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, happy to talk about anything more in detail, or if anyone else.
That was helpful overview, Ali. Yeah, time travel, definitely a very good highlight. And of course, 3.3. Any other features from your perspective, Nick, that will help, unblock any use cases?
Not really, but we have like a few like improvements in the optimize command, which can like speed up your optimize commands if you are trying to compare a lot of files. So you can take a look at the node to learn the details about these improvements.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was on mute earlier when you asked me. Sorry, I don't know if it was mentioned, but maybe the available now trigger that was introduced in Spark 3.3, that could certainly help. That's not exactly a Delta use case, but as far as the Delta Spark connector goes, it's definitely a notable improvement that can help people implement their streaming pipelines.
Solve like a scalability issue when you are trying to process like a large table change.
Got it. Yeah, I think those are very good highlights. So there is one question around, will vacuum delete all the files beyond the retention duration, or will it make sure latest version is untouched?
Can you ask that again? I think it was both. I think the answer was both.
Yeah, so I think, doesn't, Nick, quick question, doesn't latest version always gets retained?
Yes, that's why I was confused and wanted to clarify the question.
Okay. Yeah, so I think the question was, will vacuum delete all the files beyond the retention duration, or will it make sure version is untouched? So I think that's right. It retains both the properties asked in the question.
I think it's that it will retain the latest version and delete all files that are not needed in order to read that version past the retention duration. So it's not really both.
Yeah, it's not the or the
files. Yeah.
It's not the or is throwing me off.
It doesn't delete every file past the retention duration, only the ones that are no longer referenced by the current version of the table.
Right. And also I think vacuum also saves, it's a soft delete for 7 days. I mean, if retention duration is not specified, if retention duration is 0, then it will delete everything. But if you don't specify retention duration, it's still there softly for 7 days in case if you want to have ability to retain those tables back, right, within 7 days.
I thought the default was 30 days, but I may be mistaken.
That is for delete operation,
yeah,
right?
That's for log, but for vacuum,
got it. Yes.
Awesome. All right, let me see if we have any more questions. 1 second. All right. I think one question is when foreign key primary key relationships constraints are coming. I think it's the way you define the table, right? It's
You mean a check constraint?
yeah, as a constraint, relationship constraints.
Yeah, it's like you need to use like outer table to add like, I think we all document the check constraint document.
Okay.
You
I
can
can
just try
forward the
to
link.
search this in our document website.
Yep. Good call out, Orion. All right. So I think that's all the questions we have. Thank you, Nick, for sending the link. Cool. Any other closing remarks from anybody in the panel?
If there's none from anybody else, just really excited to hear from the rest of the community what new features you'd like to see. So don't hesitate to reach out, please.
I'm basically seconding that. Please be vocal on Slack or on GitHub. Like, we like the feedback.
Awesome. And if you do want to, associate yourself with the project, if you want to contribute something, we have like a list of good first issues. So I will ping the link in the chat. You can start with good first issues. Don't hesitate, like, it's my new contribution or something. Just get started and we will be happy to help you get there. So awesome. Thank you all. Have a good rest of the day, and we will see you again in 2 weeks. Please do let us know if you would like us to improve or get anything specific on the office hours. We will be happy to accommodate your request. Thank you all.
Bye.